Okay, quick mic check. Can everybody on the live stream hear me? I've got a brand new handset, not handset, headset. Just want to make sure it works. Okay, I can see myself on the screen there. I can see the stream. There's a little bit of a delay on my end with the chats. Awesome, it seems as if you guys can hear me. So in that case, it is the 13th of December 2020. And once again, we are live.
You ready?
Yes, Michael, I am. Thanks.
Silent mode.
That never gets old, but hello to my extended family, anywhere on the internet, whether you're listening live or in the replay. This is Drew, also known as Silent Mode, and I'm here today with a very special live stream. This one is going to be a little bit dramatic, I suppose, and a little bit emotional. But I felt I had to do this before the year is out, and it was the right time of year for it. You've seen the title already, and you may have seen a few social media posts I've put out. But the rumors are true, the statement is true. As of this point, I no longer call myself an adult fan of Lego or AFOL, and the point of this live stream is to explain my reasonings behind it, as well as go into what's been going on behind the scenes. It's also a chance for you guys to ask me anything you like. If there's any burning questions or anything you want to know, leave your questions in the chat section, or maybe you can send me an email if you have my email address, and I will get to them eventually in this live stream if you're willing to stick around for a bit. Now, to be able to say what I wanted to say, I've put together a fairly short presentation video which has just finished rendering as of a few minutes ago, which is why we have such a late start to this live stream. I felt I had to put this video out because if I tried to articulate everything just off the cuff, I probably would stumble across my words and not say everything I wanted to say. So please bear with me. I will play the video very shortly and then get to any questions that you have afterwards. If there are no questions, then this will be a very short live stream. In any case though, whether you're listening live or on the replay, thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. So without further ado, here's the video I've worked so hard on over the last couple of days. Hope you enjoy. My name's Drew. I'm based in London in the United Kingdom, and I go by the username SilentMode. I've been what's called an adult fan of Lego, or AFOL. This year marks my 10th anniversary in the hobby, having come out of my dark age back in 2010. You might not have heard of me, though there's a good chance you've seen some of my work, either at a fan show, on the internet, or even in a book or magazine. In any case, I'm here to talk about my experiences with the hobby, and as a result, the reason I'm no longer calling myself an AFOL. I rediscovered Lego after a 15-year dark age, which started around the time I was considered too old for system Lego, as it suggested on the boxes. Add to that, I never had any interest in Technic. It was during a weekend trip to Stockholm that I decided I had to have a hobby, as the only thing I had to look forward to in life was working. At the time, I had no idea that Lego still existed. Having built my collection from second-hand lots, it took a while to get used to building again, but the added bonus was being in a much better position to afford parts and create the things I wanted. I was also surprised to find there was an online community of Lego fans, and I gradually discovered there were other things that could be done with Lego. I remember getting my start over on Eurobricks, where I took an interest in customizing minifigures and doing set reviews, as well as building my own models. I've since expanded my skills to include silicone molding, resin casting, and 3D printing. Eventually I was able to create what was meant to be my first modular building without ever having owned or built an official one, and became an exhibitor at numerous fan events. As well as meeting other fans of LEGO, the hobby has introduced me to travelling, both abroad and domestically, with most of my journeys over the last decade being LEGO related. And thanks to many supportive people and having some great connections, I've experienced as close a relationship to LEGO as possible without being a direct employee. You might spot some of my models in a couple of DK books, and I've been involved in the House of Dots experience. The hobby had reignited my passion for artistic creation and using my imagination, and I've been made all the better for it. With that said, I've never forgotten the words of an old friend who I'd met during the weekend of my first ever fan event. He warned of the danger that I would only be liked until someone else of the same or similar type came along and the novelty wore off. Deep down I knew it would happen eventually, but I resolved to enjoy the ride until the wheels fell off. And so they did in 2017, as it seemed to become a popular trend within the LEGO community to pretend that I and my creations didn't exist. I don't just mean the infamous Masketeers situation, which was the final nail in the coffin. Even before then, I suspected an underlying sentiment that I had done too much and gone too far. I guess I've always been an ambitious person, and again thanks to some great people within the community, I enjoyed several amazing experiences in a relatively short period. It's probably natural that some would take issue with this. Some people like taking any opportunity to embarrass or shame me in front of others, whether in person or online. I've also noticed being talked around in online forums and chats, which began the vicious cycle of not wanting to engage or contribute to conversations because it appeared fruitless. I've also seen how others would gain wide recognition, praise and cross-promotion for their activities, while I've often struggled to gain any acknowledgement for doing virtually the same things. On a personal level, one of the biggest issues I have with the community is the practice of misattribution, people taking ideas that one person developed and claiming someone else did them. Misattribution appears to be accepted and encouraged within LEGO circles, depending on whose idea is being taken. Sometime this year, and I'm not going to mention any names, I witnessed it in person, someone announcing to other people in the group that one of their mates had created an idea that actually came from someone else. While I've seen people jumping to others' defense, for example with the Ghostbusters HQ, when it happens to me, apparently it's funny. Should have trademarked it, and I like your brickheads are two actual responses I've had. I take serious issue with this because in the worst cases, it's prevented me from making a living. It's also a very nasty scheme to make sure that I, and anyone else this has happened to, never gets discovered. And because it's apparently funny to those taking part, there are now very few foals I even respect. Along with the politics that have crept into the hobby, and there are definitely politics, I've also found myself becoming less enamoured with LEGO itself. I've always had the view that LEGO is a creative medium, just like drawing and painting, and that it's a great way of putting one's imagination to use. I personally think every style and technique has its place and its audience, and of course people should be free to like what they like. But I sense there's been a major shift toward literalism and the mainstream, that LEGO models have to be accurate and look realistic to be considered good, and such models are the ones featured all over the web and the media. My approach to building has always been different to most others, and visually my models are far from the best the community has to offer. When I hear, "What's it meant to be?" and "I don't get it," coming out of some child's mouth, especially about my creations, it tells me that creativity and imagination are dying. Especially since now there are a ton of third-party IPs involved, it's been a very long time since I've had any excitement toward new products. I've been to a LEGO retail store at least 3 times since the first quarantine, and each time I felt nothing, nor had any motivation to build. Even if I did, there's still the underlying concern about finding my creations on the shelves without being given any credit whatsoever. The last 3 years have literally been spent fighting for my existence, and despite trying everything I could, up to now it's been a losing battle. It's important to recognise that while I have animosity toward the community, I've made a bunch of mistakes and have done a lot of things wrong myself. One of the biggest challenges has been socialising, which doesn't come easy at all. For various reasons, I'm not a social person and it takes a lot of energy trying to engage with others. Oftentimes, it doesn't work in my favour. Conversely, I've also been very strongly driven by gaining recognition and even fame, both inside and out of the hobby. Since obtaining them through social proofing wasn't going to happen, I've attempted to do it through my work and my creations. That made it all the harder to accept that perhaps my work and my creations weren't as good as I thought, or that they just don't appeal to a large enough audience if they appeal to anyone at all. I guess I'm stubborn because I refuse to adapt like so many others would, by changing their style to become far more generic and usually camp to appeal to a wider audience. With everything that's happened this year, and it's been a really tough year, I realised I had a decision to make. And similarly to the famous chef Marco Pierre White, it boiled down to 3 choices. I could leave the hobby, give up and sell my entire collection of Lego, most likely making a loss, and disappear. I could live a lie by pretending everything's okay and it doesn't bother me, even though I know things are going on in the background. Or I could reevaluate what I'm doing. Instead of trying to compete with others and failing, pursue what interests me, even if I'm unsuccessful. You can probably tell from a mile off which option I chose. While I have issues with at least some people in the LEGO community and their practices, I know there are plenty of people who don't have a problem at all. In my view, being an AFOL means siding with these practices. That's why from this point on, I no longer call myself an adult fan of LEGO or AFOL. Instead, I'm referring to myself as a LEGO enthusiast. It might sound pedantic, but I'm also acknowledging that I'm not as passionate about LEGO as I used to be, nor am I as passionate about or involved in LEGO as others. I might not like or agree with the direction LEGO or the hobby have taken, but I still enjoy LEGO as a creative medium. I've also taken a lot of inspiration for my work from LEGO elements, especially with my long-standing fascination with minifigures. Hence why I'll use the term enthusiast as opposed to being a fan. While it's cool to call myself indie, and I've toyed with the idea of being independent, one can't really be unless they're willing to give up the benefits of being part of a group. Even now I have benefited from others' help and support, and I owe a lot of my successes and experiences within the hobby to them. With that said, it would do me a world of good to be a lot less dependent and reliant on others. To paraphrase the words of battle rapper Calico, being part of a crew is the best way to be under someone else. I'm not looking to be number one, and there's nothing wrong with being under other people, as long as you're not being buried in the process. With the old incarnation of the SilentMode TV website, and even with some of my older projects, I made the mistake of emulating what was considered popular to gain notoriety. My weekend build videos this year were a great example of such attempts backfiring, with some of those videos having single-digit views even after a few months. The problem was trying to appease and attract an audience that couldn't care less, who had already decided who their favourite YouTubers and AFOL celebrities were. If instead I focus on doing things I'm interested in, provided I'm not being shadow banned, anyone interested in my content will eventually discover me, whether on YouTube, through SilentMode TV, or other places where I can showcase my work. I still have to accept that my work isn't for everybody, and it's so easy to get caught up with views and subscribers as a measure of success. Yes, I would like thousands of subscribers, and for my videos to reach 10k views in an hour. What's important right now is actually building an audience, ideally one intelligent enough not to have to be badgered to like, comment and subscribe. At the same time, those who choose to ignore me and not get it, in the words of MC Hammer, can go and play well. I want to emphasize that this is neither a crusade nor an attempt to disrupt or destroy the LEGO community. This is a decision based on what has happened to me personally. My issues have very little to do with LEGO itself, but with the actions of certain people within these circles. From this point on, I have a policy of keeping my distance from those I have no respect for, especially those who've contributed to the issues I've faced. I'll still be part of user groups, and I'll still visit and exhibit at events. I just won't have anything to do with those people. At the same time, I'm making a new pledge to engage with those who take an interest in what I do. Although I want to focus on my artistic endeavours, I don't want it all to be just about me. I would definitely like to involve other people. Believe it or not, one thing I'd really like to do is successfully collaborate with others on projects. Going through the independent route will encourage me to continue producing content, even with the risk that I won't be noticed or successful anyway. In doing so, I also hope to encourage others to unleash their creativity. Funnily enough, the conclusion of this post can be summed up in the words of a veteran AFOL who once took me under their wing: be magnificent. In other words, now more than ever, it's time to really embrace my own tagline and motto: do your thing. Okay, that was it. Hope you guys liked it. Let me know what you think in the comments section. It's just something that I tried to put together rather quickly, but at the same time wanted to get as much as I could off my chest, and that was one of the primary reasons for making that video. Again, let me know if you have any questions. If there's anything you want to ask me, just leave your questions in the comments section and I'll get to them eventually. A few other reasons why I wanted to put this video out, and I'll just end things with a few talking points here. I wanted to make this video because I know from personal experience that it's very hard to see issues like this when you're enjoying things, when you're fully part of a group, when everything seems to be going well, you have plenty of friends, etc. I had a very similar experience with a different social group, where at one point I was in the so-called inner circle, and then I found myself getting pushed out, and it's a completely different experience being on the outside looking in compared to being on the inside and not even thinking about what's outside. And when somebody's on the outside and it feels like they're being ostracized or they're being completely ignored, it drives people away. Eventually it gets to the stage where they don't want to interact anymore. They don't see the need to interact anymore. And from personal experience, because it's happened maybe a few times before, it also kills creativity. It kills the imagination to experience things like this, if for no other reason than having to deal with all these issues eventually gets to somebody to the point where they don't even bother trying. Now, as I see the Lego hobby as being somewhat creative and using one's imagination, the last thing I want to see is somebody feeling that they can't express themselves, that there's no room for them to explore whatever they're thinking about. And I thought it was very important to raise these issues, regardless of whether or not they're actually happening, because I could be absolutely wrong, so that people are pretty much aware of what's going on. In a similar vein, I wanted to speak for those who, and there may be other people who've gone through something similar. I'm stumbling over my words right now. There may be people who've gone through something very similar who haven't had the courage to speak, who haven't had the ability to say anything, and I have no idea how many of those people there have been, but I wanted to be a voice for those people, if such people even exist. And probably the biggest reason for making a video like this was to get a few things off of my chest, because there are a few things I wanted to say and express that I felt I haven't until now. And at the very least, I didn't want to be angry anymore. I didn't want to have all this resentment for what I believe was going on. So I thought it was important to say my piece, but equally important to move on in whatever form it takes. So what are my future plans? Well, I think it's high time that I relaunch my website because it's been in a state of limbo for a while, and I want to have a completely different purpose for my websites. I'm going to use it for what it should have been used for in the first place, which was to represent myself, essentially, to showcase my work, to showcase my opinions and thoughts and things, and for anybody who's interested in what I do to have a central place to see what's going on. At the moment, I've been very dependent on having a YouTube channel, and I'm incredibly grateful for all the subscribers I have and the people who do watch my videos. When it comes to advertising myself online, however, on one hand, it's something that I'm very nervous about doing because I'm not very good at marketing myself, I will admit. On the other hand, the few times I have tried to do it, it's usually been met with silence, and recently I got accused of spamming because I put out a single video. So I'm a little bit nervous about advertising myself, but at the same time, if I have a dedicated site for myself, I know that I can showcase my stuff there, and whoever wants to see it can see it. I'm also thinking very loosely about adding an online shop, although that's a long way away. Some of you may have noticed that I've been making things, not necessarily out of Lego, but Lego related, and it would be nice to be able to sell a few things. I could always go the eBay or perhaps Etsy route, but I think having a dedicated shop would be great. Sorry about that. It's all up in the air at the moment, but it's a possibility. So I made a list of things I wanted to mention here. Yes, one other thing I wanted to do, because I don't want this whole thing to be just about me. First of all, as I said in the video, I want to make a pledge of being a lot more engaging with people. As I mentioned, it's something I found rather difficult, but I think if there is a Lego community, then I should be making just as much of an effort to engage with people as other people have done with me, kind of like paying a favor back. One thing I do want to do as far as YouTube goes is showcase other people, whether it's people who build things out of Lego or people who do things creatively, not necessarily involving Lego. I want to be able to do that as well. I think that would be really cool, in a way helping other people become showcased as well. So the one other thing I wanted to say is I want to encourage people to not just support me, but to support content creators in general. You may have remembered, if you'd seen my there's a video called Thank You, which I put out on New Year's Eve last year. I made the suggestion that again, going back to the idea that I don't just want it to be me, I would encourage everybody to support content creators on YouTube, if in no other way than to just maybe leave a comment on their videos, or just give them a like or a dislike. Let people know what kinds of content you like. Let them know where they can improve, because especially since this year has been incredibly tough, we need all the supports that we can get and all the encouragement that we can get. And now I'm just rambling, so I'll just very quickly look at the comments. I have noticed in the corner of my eye that there's an AFOL that I really do respect and I haven't spoken to in a long time. Shout out to Peter. Thanks very much for joining me on this live stream. I really appreciate it. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say. And I think I'm going to end the live stream right here before I